Hey, this is Matt once again. What about another videos of the paid request? This time for Jonathan. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, re-reviews, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 1998 film Enemy of the State. And sorry, I was just laughing because before Will Smith was slapping people. Here's the thing, it's not the end of the world for Will. He'll get by. He didn't kill someone, he didn't murder someone, anything of the sort. But as a friend of mine once said, you don't think of him as tough as maybe you used to think. In a lot of these movies he played like a tough guy or something, just, not sure. I mean, when you see a guy kind of on national TV make himself look like such a simp, it's like, you look at him just a little bit differently. But I still enjoy his older movies. I still enjoy this movie. I still think he's charismatic. I still think he's actually a pretty good actor. I still think he's very funny. And he does a great job in this film, Will Smith. And the scenes he shares with Gene Hackman. I mean, this has a great cast. And a great director, and Tony Scott, who is terribly missed. Tony Scott is easily in my top 10 favorite directors. I actually like him more than Ridley Scott, because I looked at his filmography. I love The Last Boy Scout, Beverly Hills Cop 2, this one, Man on Fire, Deja Vu, Unstoppable, Crimson Tide, a lot of really good movies. Top Gun. And he did a great job with this. It's definitely a movie that was very appropriate for its time when the internet was getting more and more bigger. And I don't know why I mentioned the internet, because this is about the internet. It's not the net with Sandra Bullock. But it just, the way surveillance is, using the usage of computers, how everything could be tracked and monitored, and it's not paranoia if they're really out to get you. That thing is much more. It became much more of a point of contention with the advent of the internet and be able to track things so much quicker and faster. And maybe that comes into play because I think of Gene Hackman. He was in this film in the 70s called The Conversation. And you could bud people, but you had to do them the old-fashioned way, where you think the technology is ahead of its time at that point, much more so. This was 1998, so you imagine a few more decades after this, just how much of a jump it's been now in terms of monitoring people and finding people, and just the complete paranoia of how anything you do can't be tracked and can't be listened to. And it creates a lot of those initial ideas and paranoia within confines of your mind, at the same time being an entertaining movie. And I was going to say, it has a hell of a cast. I mean, not only Will Smith, Gene Hackman, love that actor, because he's just, Uncommon Valor is one of my personal favorite movies. And I've never seen that guy give a bad performance. And I understand why he retired. Enjoy his life. Nothing wrong with that. Just whenever I see him in a movie, just gave such an intensity. He gave his all. I never saw him sleepwalking through a performance. He was in films like Narrow Margin, which I enjoy, and hell, I like The French Connection 2, which a lot of people hate. I actually like that more than the first one. It's just always great to see Gene Hackman in there. The only sad thing, he appears 50 minutes in? Idea within the confines of the story why that happens is just, being a fan, I do wish somehow I could have seen him sooner in the story. Because I think the film even bumps up another notch or two when it's the two of them together. So yeah, I wish there was a way for Gene Hackman to come into the story sooner, but like I said, I get why within this. But you also have Jon Voight as one of your villains. You got Barry Pepper, Jack Black, Jamie Kennedy, Seth Green, Scott Conn, Tom Sizemore, Jason Lee, Lisa Bonet. You just, again, insane amount of people in there. Like a who's who of actors. Because, like, Jon Voight is sort of the big head up of NSA. Barry Pepper and Jake Busey are these two guys kind of hired in to be with these hackers, which include Jack Black, Jamie Kennedy, Seth Green. Actually, no, Scott Conn and Jake Busey are the two hired in. Barry Pepper is the guy who works for Jon Voight and does this murder early on in the movie, which then gets recorded accidentally by Jason Lee from Mallrats, Chasing Amy, the Alvin and the Chipmunk movies, My Name is Earl. He's recording some like nature footage or something, but he gets this murder on camera, and he just chased, bumps into Will Smith, who's an attorney, without knowing it, puts something in Will Smith's bag. His wife is played by Will Smith's wife, played by Regina Hall, who's been in quite a few movies. Lisa Bonet is this lady. She was from the Cosby Show. She works with, again, info for Will Smith, and she knows Brill, Gene Hackman's character. And like I said, the movie has that rapid fire editing of Tony Scott, but it's never to a point where I'm confused as to what's going on. Like I said, just the whole cast of people, like Tom Sizemore is this mafia, this mob boss guy who Will Smith's having dealings with earlier on, and leads to the ending, which I like the way that is portrayed. It's kind of like, the way the ending is kind of like a revisit of what Tony Scott did with True Romance. All these people get in the one location and a firefight happens, and a lot of people get killed in the crossfire. I wonder if it was on purpose. Like, hey, let me redo my ending for True Romance. But it worked out here. Will Smith, this was his chance to do something a little bit more serious, because at that point he was in Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black. So now it's him getting to do a bit more of a thriller. And this film made money, but did not make as much as the other movies. Like he was making movies like Independence Day, Men in Black, of course, made like what 200-300 million, while this made 100 million. So I don't know if it was looked as a. To me, that's not a disappointment, but to the higher ups, I don't know if they expected to be more. Because you look at Jerry Bruckheimer produced it. He had produced The Rock, and that was a much bigger hit. But also, this is not that kind of film. There's action in it, but it's more of a thriller. And Will Smith still has that charm. Like when he's shopping for his wife and he's trying to pick out lingerie, he's like, breast size. Oh, she way bigger than that. No, I mean, and he tries to apologize. And because of the stuff going on, they just discredit Will Smith's character. They freeze his bank accounts. They put the story out that he cheated on his wife and he just thrown out. He just fired from his job. And that is very much apparent today's age, where one or two things happen, your whole life can be destroyed. And still very apparent to this day. So it's not a film that I feel is, what's the phrase I'm looking for? It still fits in today's age. There's a certain phrase, I hate when it's like, you get that thing in the back of your head, there's like a word or a phrase, you just waiting to push it out. dated. It doesn't feel dated. And then Gene Hackman comes into play, which is a great bonus. Either very smart or incredibly stupid. I think Gene Hackman said no to this a few times, but then he worked with Tony Scott before in Crimson Tide and ultimately did it. I'm glad he did because he's a great asset to the film. Yeah, and it's like you read the time off your fucking wristwatch. I blew up the place. Why? Because you made a fucking phone call. He didn't say fucking, but because you made a phone call. And that's where they worked well together. Gene Hackman, just a standout actor. It does. It's kind of weird, this thing with what Jerry Bruckheimer films. Like, you watch The Rock, but you just see it as kind of a later James Bond film. You watch this movie, you just look at it as kind of a weird sequel to The Conversation. Like, you just these older actors who they portray a role that's similar to a previous one, to the point that if you want to, you can make the connection to being a sequel to them. Some would say, no, it's just meant to be an homage, but just like they mention a name that Gene Hackman's character has, but it could be like a bunch of made up names as well, pseudonyms. With The Rock, again, names to be changed because it's a spy game. And I said, Tony Scott just knew how to really make a film exciting. I can see how some people get a bit annoyed by some of the style of editing, some of the bits of shakiness during his action sequences. But I felt that Tony Scott had enough drive and energy to make it workable compared to what other people. Plus, they had a nice budget to make it look slick enough, so it wasn't too irritating. And yeah, there's some good chase scenes, like when Will Smith, he's being chased around all these buildings and gets to these tunnels, maneuvering out of the way of these cars. There's a bit of a car chase with Will and Gene Hackman as these bad guys are shooting at them, and Will Smith has to shoot back with a shotgun. I like the way the end is implemented, where Will Smith uses his brains to get these two groups together and take care of all his problems in one go. I like some little bit of banter, like Gene Hackman try to explain why he's being such a prick. I need food, I'm hyperglycemic, and I thought him and Will Smith worked fairly well together. I like this little bit that Gene Hackman's character has his cat doll on, and I'm a cat lover, so I'm always down with that. Listen, Enemy of the State, like I said, it's crazy when you look at the cast. It goes by a very good pace. It's an exciting film. Gene Hackman is a boss in it. I really don't have much issues with it. I think it works very well. The music is fine. Like, the piece of music I like the best is like when the opening credits at first start, and it's like kind of this weird, I don't know if it's not choir, but I don't know how to describe it. If you watch the movie again, you watch when the end credits first start, that piece of music I thought was pretty effective. The rest of the score is fine. I mean, it's no Broken Arrow, The Rock type of musical score, but it's fine for what it needs to be. And yeah, overall, this is a film I've always enjoyed ever since I first saw it back in the day. And very appropriate in today's age. So yeah, Enemy of the State, it's funny at times, it's exciting at times, and it's definitely a good popcorn movie. So, and even if I, despite what Will Smith did, I still like him as an actor. But he's a bit of a simp as well. But I also blame his wife Jada Pink Slip for that. So they should give a fucking pink slip to her here, call it divorce. But that's his choice. You don't want to do that? Well, that bitch gonna take your soul all the way down, brittle it down, chip it away at more and more. Can't say we didn't warn you, Will. Big Willie style, just friendly warning. Because she ain't changing. You are. But you gotta remember, Will, those 15 mansions, wherever you got, that was not from receipts of Set It Off, what Jada Pink did, or fucking residuals from A Low Down Dirty Shame and the Matrix sequels. That was from you and yourself alone. So, you don't need her, she needs you. Just a little bit of food for thought. But with that said, rest in peace to Tony Scott. Miss him as a director. And great cast, like I said. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.